Welcome everyone to the School of Radiance podcast. I'm your host, a humble human on a mission, here to help you both look and feel your best. In today's episode, we are going to be focusing on cellular and metabolic performance, and I'm really excited to showcase today's guest. We have Zac Curhan joining us here, and we connected a number of months ago through a mutual friend, and he makes fantastic electrolytes, kombucha, immune support, all sorts of good things that I take to perform at the level that I work at, which is fairly dialed in. And I'm sharing this information because it's my aim for all of you to get the most out of your life and live your purpose and look and feel your best. It does require getting dialed in. And so we're going to be highlighting some things that can help you out and also some mindset things, because Zac and we both like to challenge ourselves with different sporting activities. I'm going to be sharing something behind the scenes that I've registered for and that Zac's doing. So stay tuned for that. It's going to inspire you. Even if you don't do something like what we do, you can find a way to build confidence by maybe doing a new hobby or a new activity, and you'll meet some great people along the way as well. And that's one of the key facets to Radiance, is to build your confidence, increase your level of beauty and attractiveness so that you can build your community. Because at the end of the day, that's a deep survival need that we all look to satisfy, is surrounding ourselves with great people who we can enjoy this journey of life with. So Zac is the owner of TRUWILD, a direct-to-consumer, all-natural nutrition supplement brand for outdoor enthusiasts. And y'all know I did that week-long fast in Sedona and Arizona and Utah a couple years back that changed my life. He spent 8+ years in the CPG industry on the beverage side, and now is shaking things up in the supplement space for the outdoor community adventurers like himself. His vision is to educate, inspire, and provide the outdoor community with quality, clean, and real ingredients to fuel everyday adventures. And TRUWILD is available on my biohacking page and also in the description of this episode below. Welcome, Zac Curhan, to the School of Radiance podcast. What is Radiance to you, and how are you
Thanks
today?
for having me on. So radiance to me radiant, I think of light and energy. And it just means, like connecting with the world and trying to make the world a better place and really just healing people from the inside out.
Beautiful. So we had a chance to connect on a call just so I could get more information on your products, because as many of you know that listen to the show, I'm always on the hunt for the best skincare products, the best products to help us fuel ourselves to be radiant, which requires being always ready and being always resilient. And you shared with me that you actually come from a family of healthcare practitioners and physicians. So I'm super curious how that angle and framework really
Yeah,
impacted
so
your
growing up,
mission.
my dad's a doctor, right? And I tell people that's like more of like the Western side of medicine. And then my mom is a dietitian, nutritionist. And so I call that like Eastern type medicine, right? Because it looks like kind of like a different framework than just like taking prescription um, medicine if you're hurt or injured. And so that like growing up in that household, I really just saw just like the health industry in the sector. And I grew up around supplements, right? So my mom at a very young age like would give us all these powders, and I was like, what is this? I was never really understood what she gave us. And she's like, honey, it's just, think about it just like a whole food product that's just ground down to a powder so you get more micronutrients than you can by eating. And I was so fascinated by it. And I like at a young age, but everything I tried back then really tasted like shit. Nothing really tasted great. I mean, it was really good for you. And so like as I went through, high school and college, and I kind of like I played like like not professional, but like college sports through water polo and swimming and surfing, and then like biking as well. I got really interested in like the supplement space of how like an ingredient can really fuel you in different needs. And so I just kind of got into this space of like, when as I got older, I was like, I could do this better. I realized that the supplement space is very large and inundated, and I thought I can come up with a product that not only tastes great, that's more affordable, and that actually works. And it's clean, yes.
And that's clean. Yes, very important. So I think your story is worthwhile to just highlight also the masculine and feminine dynamics, because your dear mother was looking to nurture you and your body as you're growing and doing all these different sports with saying, here, Zac, have this. It might help you. That's honestly, that's my desire for a lot of you ladies who are listening, who have husbands, who have kids, to have this information at your fingertips so that you all look and feel your best. And then for your father to kind of like hold that foundation in the Western sciences is also kind of cool too. As a medical doctor, and here you are, it's almost like you paired the best of both worlds with your mother and father to create a product. And I have to say, your experience in the beverage space shines because your products actually taste really good. A number of you tuning in have probably used other electrolytes in the past, and I just found that they're too salty. I didn't like taking them. So I'm a huge fan of the Hydrate product that you've made for electrolytes and amino acids to help with replenishing, rebuilding, recharging. So after a work day, I'll lift heavy at the gym and then jump in my sauna. So what do I need to do after that? I need to replenish my electrolytes. It's super key so that we continue to function properly. So tell us yeah, it's really good. It's super tasty. I'll also share my favorite party drink when I have my friends over. What I give them, that's actually your product. But tell us why electrolytes and amino acid are so important for our overall energy levels, but also when the insides are working better, our skin's going to look better, our body's going to feel better. So, what role really do electrolytes and amino acids play in regards to
but let's just like talk
recovery
about
and
the elephant
repair?
in the room that a lot of people don't realize too, that like 75% of all Americans are dehydrated, which is crazy to think about. So at the very beginning of it all, a lot of people are not drinking enough water, right? And so water is a huge component of that, but also people don't realize that you can't get hydrated with just water alone. You actually need electrolytes. And right, electrolytes are your sodium, potassium, um, and magnesium, like all of these electrolytes that you need for your body to actually function. And this actually needs your cells, and the electrolytes are actually um, energy sources for your body to create, to talk to each other of all your different cells and synapses for your body to function. So a lot of people are not like really aware of how that works as well, from an energy source internally from your cells. Um, and then why we create like added aminos into this as well is amino acid is a branched chain of amino acid that really helps with like recovery, protein synthesis, allows your body to help repair anything that's been torn down through, constant working out or like a very long day, just like completely putting stress on your body. It helps kind of repair some of those cell tissues and protein synthesis to rebuild and recover as well.
I'm glad that you mentioned stress because one of the top podcast episodes I did lately was on fatigue and energy. And as a biohacker, I have been playing around with my pre-workout stack and found that adding more branched chain amino acids, BCAAs, which those of you tuning in might have heard, and this is what we're talking about, and all these different cofactors you need so that your metabolism works, right? Your skin also has its own metabolic processes. So the better your metabolism is operating all the time, the more resilient you're going to be. And then you're going to be more radiant even when things get a little stressful. And we forget that when cortisol spikes, say there's something going on in your work life, in your personal life, it actually is going to deplete your mineral stores, which is why it's so incredibly key to support your adrenals to make sure you're getting enough of these salts and these cofactors or vitamins and minerals so that your body can operate as the finely created piece of machinery that it is, so that you feel like yourself all the time and that you're not tired and fatigued. There's nothing worse than being in a relationship and being tired all the time. Your kids are always watching you as well, so you do need to set the example. And sometimes adding these additional nutrients and cofactors, electrolytes, and branched chain amino acids can be really helpful for the cognition, the brain function also. We forget about that. So there's this direct linkage to getting enough of what the body needs to how we feel, how we communicate, and how we show up. So, question for you before we started recording, you mentioned that you recently did an Ironman competition. Good job. And you're going to be doing another one. And I myself actually decided to challenge myself a little bit. Sometimes I like to do these challenges for myself. A couple of years ago, said, I want to do a week-long fast in the desert. My body was just like, do it. And for me now, I just registered for the Grand Fondo for Vancouver to Whistler. So it's basically an uphill 120-kilometer road bike event. And this is a challenge for me. It requires training. And I think that it's a strong mindset to have of, okay, let's train for life, right? And then we start new hobbies and give ourselves goals. We accomplish that goal, and you just get this tremendous confidence boost from it. So tell us a little bit about what happened in your last Ironman competition, some of the deeper emotional, mental ahas, and how you're looking to make a comeback.
A challenge every year, Masugi. So I don't know if that's something that resonates with you or with your audience as well, but I really strongly believe that everyone should have one big challenge a year that you can put on the calendar. So when you look back, you can say hey, this year I accomplished this. And that's, it's a confidence booster, but also it's something that I think throughout life, people get mundane with their daily routines. They need to look forward to something, and having a masugi or something that really challenges you really helps you, I think, internally and externally, just makes you a better person overall. And masugi is a Japanese term that I believe it's that the Japanese use that I have to Google it because I can just space out exactly what it is, but it's showcasing something that's a difficult or challenge feat that they witness throughout times. But for going back to the Ironman, real quick, it was in Hawaii, 70.3, and what happened is in the last mile of the run race, right? So just painting a picture for everyone, you can think about Hawaii. It's in June. It's about 80 degrees with 80% humidity. The last leg of the Ironman is on the golf course and also on the sidewalk. And if you think about the heat stays right, it rises, but on the golf course, it's a grass, and all that heat just stays in on your feet because there's nowhere else to go when it's in the grass. So the grass was I think someone got a temperature reader. It was 110 on the grass, which is insane. So right there alone, unbelievably hot. And that's after you do, a 1.2 mile swim, a 56-mile bike ride, and then you do a half marathon run. I was going through there's one section that's called the lava Hell's Kitchen. We have lava rocks on each side. It's no sun. There's no place to hide from the sun. The sun's beaming on you. And I just was going way too hard. And I literally passed out and woke up in the medic tent with all these doctors poking me, checking on me to see are you there? I literally lost my memory for 3 hours, completely blacked out, didn't even recognize my parents who were there, didn't know my name, didn't know where I was. Pretty intense moment. And then went to the hospital, got IVs, got checked up on. That's at that moment I realized that I had rhabdo as well. So I had heat stroke and rhabdo, which is this, I can't really get into the scientifics of it, but all I really know is that it's when your kidneys stop working, and your kidneys are there to help detoxify any help detoxify anything bad in your body. So my creatine levels was a 3, which is normally a 1, and you have to like dilute um, all this detoxifications in your body through like liquid. And so they had 8 liters of liquid going through me trying to clear everything out. And luckily, after like 8 hours being in the emergency room, I finally was cleared to go because my vitals were fine. But honestly, the biggest, I think, aha of it all was that I realized that I literally can push myself physically and emotionally to the point of like the brick of um, dying, which is pretty intense to think about. There's not a lot of people who can push yourself so hard that you get heat stroke and rhabdo and like just physically, hit a wall. And then two, it made me just really look at life in a different way of learning to slow down, and that we live in this world that it's so fast paced and everyone wants something, yesterday, but really like kind of like grounded me to the fact of like just like living life in slow motion and just like enjoying the little things means so much more. Because I don't know if that was like a way for the universe to tell me to just like appreciate what's around me and take a step back. But like a NDE, like a near death experience, I think really just like highlights the way of life, and makes you really appreciate everything around you, be grateful, but also like sometimes it's okay to go in the slow lane, and just like taking the surroundings, then always be in the fast lane at all times.
Yeah, sometimes we sort of jog, sometimes we sprint,
Yeah.
and sometimes we just need to rest, right? So learning those cues, I've had to learn this in my journey as well. Of like fall, winter for me is a lot of rest and recovery. Although this year was a bit different. I've been able to push harder at the gym, overcoming obstacles like 2 car crashes and all sorts of, different emotional things, professional things, personal things. So I've gotten really good, and I encourage everybody here to tune into the body when the body needs to rest. And then also tune in when you feel like Superwoman or Superman, which I have been, honestly, if I'm fully transparent, especially over the last few months with just my metabolism revving up, with hitting the gym, making sure I'm getting all my key nutrients, hitting those protein targets of 30 to 40 grams of protein a day, getting enough sleep, and doing things that are fun, like adding cycling to the mix, which is a really fantastic low impact activity. It's also a group activity, and having a lot of peace in my life. Peace, happiness, love, fulfillment, personal, professional satisfaction, all those things. So when I'm hearing your story, Zac, what I see is a man who's an entrepreneur, who's also an athlete. And what do the kidneys do? They filter. So one of the things that came up for me that I think could be helpful for the community is, what are your filters? What are your filters for life? Because you then came to the conclusion that, it might have been stress related, looking to feel more gratitude and appreciation for all the fantastic things. Practice that vitamin G. But it is interesting that it was impacting the kidneys, and our liver, kidneys, and skin are our largest detoxification organs, and they weren't working properly. So your creatinine levels overloaded your system and you passed out. And what I don't want for anyone to experience is that. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and to always look after yourself so that when stuff does happen, you don't push too hard to that point where you do crash. But you can say, okay, I need to just rest. I need to slow down. Something's off, and then get the support that you needed. However, you're not attempting, you're going to do
Yeah.
it. You're
To
doing
reach
another
that's
Ironman
redemption. But
in
this
2 weeks,
time,
right?
I am learning to accept the fact where I'm not going to push myself so hard. If my body says something, I'm going to listen to it and not just ignore it. And the goal of this race is to have fun, um, have a smile on my face, no matter it's going to be long and painful, and in the finish. So there's no time set. There's no like internal ego, like competitiveness within me. The goal is to just get across that finish line, emotionally and physically.
Well said. And that's also my goal too with registering for this Grand Fondo. Like, I've never done anything else like this in my life. I just started cycling and doing spin class. And I know that I have the capacity to train for something. Having been in the pro athlete world for well over a decade in my life, it's like, you know what? I feel like I could do this. I'm going to meet some fun people along the way, and I'm just going to enjoy it. No, I'm not going to get the times of, you know,
Tour de France,
what's that
the
French
Tour de
cycle race?
France.
It's evaded me. Yeah, Tour de France. That's it. I mean, there's those guys that are doing it too, but obviously I'm not going to be at that level. But having fun and enjoying the process, which is really great. I'm really curious if the mental component, like maybe you had put too much stress on
I
yourself.
mean,
Do
it
you
could
think that
be.
there
I
was
mean,
that
I'm
too?
constantly, I mean, entrepreneurship life, as you know, it's a roller coaster. So it could be the stress of it. Had some aspect of it, but I mean, like I meditated and I like right the night before, the morning before, I put myself in the right headspace. I did some visualizations. I mean, definitely that was not in the visualization part of it, but like when I look back at all this, I think this happened, for me, not to me, and I see the beauty in it, even though it literally took at least 6 8 months to like get past it all. um, I really think there's a silver lining in everything, and so I almost died, yes, but I also learned a hell of a lot along the journey.
I fail all the time at stuff. But the more things that you fail at, the more opportunities there are for things to actually go right and happen. So sometimes doing that little leap of faith, like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good thing to do. You also need to have that long term strategic planning. I'm reading the book Think Fast and Slow, and it's talking about system one and system two. And I find all this stuff from the psychological standpoint super interesting, especially for what I talk about in the School of Radiance membership, which is, what's the mindset of being truly beautiful, being truly radiant. And this stuff applies to the ladies and the gents. 25% of you listeners are the guys. And I think that sometimes we're a little too hard on ourselves, and we don't always recognize that, okay, this is too much, time to take a pause, maybe put that goal if life stuff happens a couple months later or something like that. But in regards to long term planning, it sounds like you're taking a different approach for this upcoming Ironman. And that's actually getting dialed in with your nutrition leading up to it. So share with us, some of the things that you did leading up to that last Ironman that maybe you could have done differently and dialed in a little bit more. And what are you doing this time? How are you fueling yourself daily with the products that you make at TRUWILD, and maybe also your
Yeah,
nutrition
of
and
course.
your pace of
So
life?
I think a lot of people don't realize this too, like with any race, even the race that you have as well, that I would say 75% of the race is mostly diet and planning. Um, well, maybe let me take it back. 50% is diet, 20% is mental, and the rest is physical as well. But the diet is such a huge component of this race, and just having an actual plan. A lot of people go into races and be like, oh, I'm just going to get whatever they have at the race, or I'm just going to drink water. But you really need to understand that your body exerts so much energy during these type of races that you need at least 30 to 40 grams of carbohydrates every hour, right? And so for the last race, I had a complete diet plan. However, what happened is I actually lost one of my 80-gram packets that I was supposed to eat. Oh, sorry, it was a bar, 80-gram bar I was supposed to eat during the bike, and it fell off. So as I was on the bike, it fell, which I lost 80 grams. So I made up for that like during a transition. I got like a bar somewhere else, but it was too late. Um, so I had the plan, and just the plan backfired and other stuff as well. But for this next race, instead of 30 to 40 grams per hour, and instead of like having it on the hour, which usually happens in a race, you're like biking or you're running and you're like in the zone. We're like, I don't need to eat. I feel great. That's the wrong mentality. And sometimes you actually like, oh, it's you. Let's say you set up alarm every hour. I need 40 minutes. Or every hour I need 40 grams. At that hour mark, you will just eat everything or drink it in that hour. So instead of it's like gradually taking it and knowing your markers of when to actually diet correctly. So for this next race, same diet plan. I'll be fine with 30, 40 grams per hour, but just really indulging it or drinking like throughout the race versus like when I need to. Because sometimes when you get in that race mentality, you're like, I don't really need anything. I'll be fine. But then you bonk, or for me, it might get rhabdo or heat stroke, depending on that. So definitely more on the carbohydrate side of eating correctly when I do. And then also, I would say on the electrolyte side, I did bring back then, we didn't have the single serve sticks that we have now. So now I can actually bring some of those electrolyte sticks with me. So if I ever feel, yeah,
I'm going to
yes.
be taking
That's what I
yours
was gonna
when I
say.
do
I
the
need to
Grand
send you
Fondo.
some more for that as well. So yeah, definitely more
100%.
of that electrolytes, and then like how I diet leading up to it. I'm big in the protein. So having, I think you said earlier, for you, everyone's different based off your macros, based off your body composition. But for me, I try and get at least 100, 120 grams of protein a day. So that's huge. And then from like, I mean, I brought some products too, but like, I really swear by turmeric. So turmeric or turmeric, however you want to say it. I always say it differently. That's for, yes, anti-inflammatory, helps with aches,
Anti-inflammatory.
any like aches,
Hmm.
pains, soothes your joints. Been a Chinese remedy for like millions and millions of years. I drink it as a tea at night. Also helps with your gut, which is great, in pH balance within your system, which is awesome. And then, I mean, I drink these, like, if you can see, it's like half empty. Um, but like our electrolytes, I love. I drink it literally 3 times a day.
So good.
There's no sugar, so that's like guilt free. So you don't have to worry about like having too much sugar. And I don't think anyone's overdose on electrolytes or salt. So
Well, I mean, you can, but you have to take obscene amounts of it. I do know another athlete that did actually, but they did like a number of things wrong, like just key errors. But I love your product. It's so good.
yeah,
And I do want to just jump in here because you alluded to something super key, and it's taking those opportunities to rest and recover and recharge, whether that's body, mind, spirit, or energy, before you burn out. Okay. And for me, I did make the mistake for a long time of fasting too much, like waking up and eating at like 1 to 2 p.m. In the afternoon because I heard fasting was good for me. But then I started to notice blood sugar levels were kind of off. I'd get a little bit shaky, maybe a bit more anxiety. And I'm not prone to anxiety, but it was linked to just not having the sugars that I needed for my mind, difficulty concentrating. So now what I actually do is the honey trick. I have honey throughout the day. My AM coffee, teaspoon of honey or tablespoon,
is it Manuka
depending on how decadent I
Manuka
feel.
honey, or do you have a specific
Dates
honey?
throughout the day.
Okay.
Local honey. Yeah, I go local so that I'm getting kind of like the flowers and the immune support locally. But actually, just to highlight this, to take the time to recover before you burn out and leading up to stuff happens in your life all the time. So being dialed in and resilient all the time is so key, so that when stuff does happen, not necessarily if you're doing the Ironman or a Grand Fondo, but say someone passes away, say there's just an extra stressor in your personal and professional life, you're going to be more able to overcome that and look and feel your best. So shout out to carbs. I did have to add that back in because I went pretty hardcore with the carnivore diet and needed to actually have that carbs. I just felt like I had more energy and I felt better. And the cognitive aspect was really also key too. So honey and dates, I think, are some of my favorite carb sources. Um, I want to talk about treats though, because we're talking about carbohydrates, and you know how it is. You go to the store, and you're like, oh, I'd really love to get like a fancy drink. And I see the kombuchas that are on the shelves. It's kind of like you might as well just drink a pop. Or you get a fancy coconut fizzy water, but there's 20 grams of sugar in it. So, what I've done is every time I have friends over or I want a fun drink, because I'll have my girlfriends over and their boyfriends, and I'll make some meat lovers pizza and all sorts of fun stuff. It's all a biohacking goodness party. I'll serve your kombucha to them. And everybody loves it. Like, it's so good. So instead of spending the extra money on a kombucha at the store, which is terribly overpriced and super high in sugar, get the TRUWILD kombucha. You, your friends, your partner, and your kids are going to love it. How's that for an
And also, too, it's sustainable. It's good for the environment because you're not buying tons and tons of glass kombucha bottles, right? So it's a shelf-stable kombucha that you leave in your cupboard, and you can have kombucha on the go whenever you want. Or at the parties. I love that. Kombucha parties.
Totally. I mean, most of my friends don't drink. I might have alcohol once a month, and it's going to be Guinness or champagne or tequila. I'm not a big drinker whatsoever, but there's a lot of really great things in your kombucha. So you have inulin, you have apple cider vinegar, ginger root extract, green tea extract, and also bromelain. So tell us how your kombucha powder is very different. I mean, kind of give it away, but kind of how it's different than a lot of the kombucha products that you'll see on the store shelves.
Just so people know too, the kombucha comes from a SCOBY that we freeze dry, because so many people are like, how do you get a kombucha in powder form? But you take a SCOBY, you freeze dry it, so it turns into a powder, and then we add all these good stuff. So like the inulin is a Jerusalem artichoke, really good for gut health. Then we add, apple cider vinegar and ginger in there as well. So you get all these amazing benefits in our product. And the best thing I would say is like the affordability. So like that's like the number one thing I tell people is your kombucha in a bottle is $8. This for one serving, I think it's like $2.99 a scoop, which is insane. And then it's shelf life, right? So kombucha, you get it, it goes bad in 6 days. Ours is 2 years shelf life. So there's all these amazing things, and you get the same. I would say you might lose a little bit of the fizziness and like that vinegar taste that you might enjoy with kombucha. But ours, I would say, tastes like a upgraded Kool-Aid type approach with less sugar and just overall better benefits.
Yeah, those two are my favorite products of yours. Your hydrate electrolyte mix and your kombucha. But you also have like the turmeric, you have immune support, you have the electrolyte packets, which are really convenient too, especially with the change of season coming up. It's going to be a little bit warmer outside. We're going to be doing more activities. So why not put some electrolytes in your water bottle when you're about to do something, and just remind yourself to constantly fuel yourself and don't go too long
awesome.
with your
fasting. I'm going to throw this in there too, because you talked about some about adrenal glands. So these are adaptogens, functional mushrooms that adapt to your body's like physical and emotional stressors. So that is something else that a lot of people have. Your adrenal glands are shot, or your stress or your mood's off. Functional mushrooms has been kind of a key. Well, adaptogens have been a key word for a while, but I like to say like functional mushrooms that really they work like marvelous and do magical things to you. And it's an invisible healing aid that you might not feel right away, but over time has really benefited me for my sleep, my energy, and just overall mood.
Mm-hmm. And for many of you longtime listeners, y'all know I've been preaching about adaptogens from mountaintops. There's no way that I would have been able to go through all the things that I've gone through in such a short span of about 3 years if I didn't do the heavy lifting and the dialing in of adaptogens, of diet, of self-care routines, of sleep, all of that. I probably would be in a totally different situation, like the woe is me situation. What a lot of people do when they get stressed out is escapism, right? Drugs, alcohol, things that are just not healthy for you. I mean, let's be real here. Sometimes you have that and you go through life and you might be tempted to go down the escapism route. But my advice for each and every one of you is to just, instead of that, continue to care for your body. You have one body. People are always watching, especially those kiddos or your partner. And especially for the women, you're really here to inspire. You're here to inspire, you're here to nurture, you're here to bring that beautiful, feminine, radiant, gorgeous energy into the world. And then for the guys, I mean, guys have a very important role. And, I don't beat around the bush here on the show. It's like, I'm very much, okay, how have we evolved with our biology for so long? I'm not going to water anything down, but we need strong men, right? And so for you to do your next Ironman, my hope for you is that you also do have that inspiring feminine energy to run your business, continue to grow, and just crush it at this next Ironman. And I really hope that you have that, because we're better together when we support one another. So when I first connected with Zac, I was like, okay, this guy seems pretty rad. He's making some great products. I do want to encourage and help this company continue to grow, because yeah, there's a lot of products on the market, but I also care who's behind the company, what they do in their personal life, like you doing Ironman. I think that's pretty cool. And what are some of the tips that you've learned in your journey to continue to thrive in your life as well, and create products that are going to help others be more adaptable, more resilient, and just really have the energy and the zest to be able to go through life because they're metabolically flexible and well fueled.
Well said. No, I was going to say too,
So
I
Zac,
appreciate the feminine energy touch, even though I believe I've mastered that over the years. And so I believe in polarity strongly, and you can get spiritual if we need to, but I'm a big believer of energy, and being an empath. And I'm grateful that we got connected from the universe as well, because I know you have a really strong radiant energy, and I hope everyone sees that. Mm-hmm.
oh, thank you. So curious, this time around with this race, do you have that polarity and support rooting you
Yeah,
on
I
from
do.
behind the
I've
scenes?
got family going to come down, friends going to cheer me on as well, and then I don't know, my soul team will be watching out for me from above as well. So I will make sure of that.
Fantastic. And when we do things like this, we sign up for events or sign up for a new class, you get to meet people. And because you have the support, you never know, maybe that special someone will present themselves and you'll find each other. Because I do think that having the support and encouragement for all of us, if we want that, it is available to us. And it's this team-based mentality. And you just can't really sugarcoat the polarity aspects. And, I need someone like you to make these stellar products so that I can continue to do what I need to do and expand my social circle and continue to show up and help people. So I just wanted to say thank you so much, Zac, for living your purpose, creating some great products. Eventually this will be like a legacy thing for you and down the line as well, and your family too. So big kudos to you. Wish you all the best in your Ironman. And I will definitely be taking your products when I do the Grand Fondo. So stay tuned for that. Zac, where can everybody find your products? I mean, you're on the biohacking page
Yeah,
as well,
so they
but
can
how can they
find
follow
us,
you on
find
social
my
media and see what you're
personal.
up to?
It's ZStar77. That nickname we can talk about in another time, another pod. It's a great story. You can also find us on TRUWILD Instagram, which is TRU_wild. You can find us online at TRUWILD TRUWILD.com. On Amazon, we're also on Walmart online, eBay, and then we're in select stores nationwide as well.
And if you're looking for a great source to get your products, because y'all know I don't recommend buying anything that you put on or in your body from these third-party auction sites, head on over to TRUWILD, spelled TRUWILD.com, /discount /Varga, and use promo code Varga on your order. If you can't remember that, it's in the description of this episode. Check that out too for some other free stuff. And head on over to theschoolofradiance.com /biohacking, where you can also find the products. And again, my favorites are the Hydrate and the kombucha, but they're all fantastic. They taste great. So you're not going to be like, oh, this is another super salty electrolyte product. Super important for ladies, for the gents, for the kids. And no, this is not medical advice. This is educational information only. If you think you have a medical condition, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. Thanks so much, Zac, for your time with us all here on the School of Radiance podcast. I love you all so much. Check out theschoolofradiance.com to shop for my favorite skincare products, the Always Radiant skincare line, which is my line. Book your one-on-one. I'm accepting a couple of new patients this month. Join my upcoming tutorials where I teach exactly how to use your products. And then the membership for the deeper dive of truly what it takes, the mindset, the dialing in that I do, and I know you can too, to truly be your most beautiful, radiant self, live your purpose, and do what you're here to do, which is to be a beautiful, healthy, happy vibe, high vibe, radiant human. Love you all so much, and I'll see you again right here on the School of Radiance podcast.